It's well known now, isn't it, that a lot of people go on about the gaffe that the 45th President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, did when, of course, he met the Queen to inspect the troops, as it were. And he kept walking in front of her and all that sort of stuff. And everybody said, oh, she was furious. And I've told you many times, she wasn't. She actually looked furious at the time. I think more like a sort of more schoolboy, as if, oh, do behave. You're getting on my nerves, you know, that sort of thing. But really, compared to some of the gaffes that happened in front of our late and wonderful monarch, Queen Elizabeth II, what Mr. Trump did really wasn't, well, it's kind of small fry when you think. According to a very well-placed source, this particular gaffe became, well, the stuff of folklore for our late monarch, and she liked to regale people with this story in holidays at Balmoral and new people that she'd met, particularly presidents. And when you think about it, it must have been an absolute nightmare for that president way back in July 1976. You see, that was Gerald Ford. And the bottom line was, I remember him just about. He was one of those, as I've often said here on the show, politics were not that big, weren't they, you know, when we were younger? Because the television, it was the sort of news that your dad watched, and you weren't particularly interested, so you didn't really watch it, if the truth be told. And the other side of it was, you know, you were too young, you weren't that bothered. I do remember certain people, as I say, like President Jimmy Carter, who I was lucky enough to meet many years later, while I organised a shoot for him in a wonderful London hotel. But this particular story, as I say, made me smile simply because it's now being detailed in a brand new book. Now picture the scene. Her Majesty the Queen is over in Washington on a state visit, and of course every single thing has been put to plan, you know, every single thing, the dinner, the menu, you know, whatever. Now what happened was, after the dinner, sorry, I've got the giggles because I know what's coming. After the dinner, what happened was the fact that the President and the Queen naturally decided to take to the dance floor. And again, you've got to think about this in the sort of way it is. You know, a big event, all the cameras are on you, everybody's looking at you. This is the big moment. It's almost like a first dance at a wedding, you know what I mean? But much to the embarrassment of the President of the United States, the band struck up this. Rather than the agreed tune, they struck up with the Sinatra classic Buddy Greco song, The Lady is a Tramp. And apparently, according to folklore, the President of the United States literally went crimson. Now, Her Majesty the Queen never said anything and just carried on, you know, just, oh, don't worry, you know, they carried on gliding around the floor. But apparently when she got back to London, she told everybody and said she felt so sorry for Gerald Ford, simply because she said she knew internally he was dying, seething, and more importantly, somebody was going to get some kind of telling off after the event. She apparently found it, along with her sister, Princess Margaret, really, really funny. And they used to tell that particular story to anybody who felt slightly uneased. Of course, a friendship developed after that, and he apologised profusely and said he didn't know how it happened, all that sort of stuff. She just said, look, these things happened. Nobody actually knows why that really happened. Who told the band to play that? Maybe somebody said this was the Queen's favourite tune. Who knows? But whatever, it literally did happen. But more importantly, rather than being angry, the Queen, as ever, saw it all in good spirits. So when people talk about President Trump and the gaffe that he made, literally, you could say Gerald Ford's was a little bit worse and far more memorable. Neil Sean, Parliament, London.